Hi, welcome to Playerole, and this is DM Talk. For those of you chiming in right now, DM Talk is where Henry, the DM from Playerole, talks about subject. I have a subject matter tonight: time management. But before we get into that, we can talk about anything you want. If I start talking about a certain subject and you chime in and you want to talk about something different, I could turn away and talk about that. That's what we do here at DM Talk, and welcome. The new year is just around the corner. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. It's Christmas is that time of year. You spend money, you buy new things, and I have a gift back there. The 2024 Player's Manual for Dungeons and Dragons, and I haven't read it or anything yet. I did hear a lot about it. Friends told me about it. Yes or no, yay or nay. It all depends on what you think about the Player's Manual for 2024 Dungeons and Dragons compared to 2014's Player Manual. Which one's better? It all depends on how you are as DM and what you want to run. You can like it or not like it. Anyways, that is not tonight's topic. But anyway, I got a gift, and it's cool. And it's one of those things where you get to pick, and I picked it. It's really cool. So I haven't looked at the Player's Manual for 2024 yet, but I will, and I'm looking forward to get my hands on it and soak up as much as possible. Because I was thinking about the next chapter, campaign 3, later on, much later, to really focus on 2024's Dungeons and Dragons, give that a shot and see if the guys want to do it. It all depends. Your party. You got to remember, it's not just about the DM, it's about the players at your table. If they don't want to play 2024 and you have the book, but it's okay. You can go ahead and play it anyway. I mean, it's okay. You could find another group and play with them. But either way, if they don't want to play it, I like it. I treat all my gaming books in mint condition. I don't fold them. I don't take the book and crack it in half. I'm very, very gentle with all my gaming books. They're in mint condition. At least I think so. But I'm not the type of person that just goes, "Hey, here's your gift," and I'm like, "Yeah, thank you." Just tear it here and there. No, I don't do that stuff. So, but let's get on with tonight's topic. But tonight's topic is time management. What is time management? That's very important in all gaming situations. If you are running a game, you're running a game for your party and your players, and all of a sudden you run into a situation where they should be at a certain point in the game and they're not. That's time management. It's not like you failed as a DM. You just, you just kind of went to other things. Sometimes you can't. You should have certain little, Easter eggs to lure your players to that section of the game. That's time management. Now, I am sorry, my nose is itching. What does that mean to you and your game? Well, it could make or break your game, your one shot, your campaign. And time management, depending on what type of story. You got to remember, a story is everything. But the DM ultimately, he writes a story, but if the story is broken up into chapters and sections, and if the players in your game decide to take your time or didn't catch the certain Easter eggs or clues or whatnot, that's all part of time management. You got to really make sure that they move to the next section. Now, How do you do that? Like I mentioned Easter eggs, I mentioned plot devices. They need to find the Book of the Dead in a cave. Well, how do they get there? They heard murmurs in the town, in a tavern. They talked about it. Oh, that's Cave A, or the Astria Cave. They went to the Astria Cave. He decided to go and find the Book of the Dead. You have a party of 7. They got enough information, and as a DM, that's what you do. You sprinkle that information in the tavern. So there you go. They found information to go to the Astria Cave. They got to get ready. They get ready in town. They get their weapons, provisions, or whatnot. They move on. Now, how long should the players stay? How long? Well, you know the average game length can be 4 hours. You know, if my games are 4.5 hours, 4 hours and 30 minutes, sometimes a little more. I've done a 5-hour game before, and that's fine and dandy, but average game length is 4 hours. If you know in 4 hours, they got to go and get that book. You got to make sure within those 4 hours that you have enough information or sprinkle enough evidence or clues that the players can make an assessment and move forward. If not, then I'm not going to say it's DM's fault, but you know, you got to sprinkle that information. If not, the game is just going to be like, oh, you know, that one shot is no longer a one shot. It's a 2-shot. That 2-shot's no longer a 2-shot, it's a 3-shot, because now it's a campaign. Now it's moving on. So now you got to make sure that you use your time management accordingly. And you know, I've been gaming, I've been running games for a very long time, and time management sometimes can be cumbersome. Time management can be one of those things that could make or break your campaign or story or one shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the clues aren't good enough. Sometimes things aren't there. Sometimes players will go the other way. Well, damn it, they should have went to the red door. The red door! What are you going to do if they don't go to the red door? You're going to come into problems when the players, your group, says, hey, we're not going to go to that red door. We're going to go check out this room a little more. So now, let's say that's towards the end. They're almost at the book. They're in a cave. They're almost there. They find a door that's red. But they don't want to go yet. They want to search the room more. So now one of the clues the players found, that it's very urgent, you know, it's very important that they find the book at a quick pace, because if not, the book is going to, you know, open up, a beam of light comes out of the book, and it all undead or liches from all over the realm will rise, and you have a certain amount of time. They know this. The party knows this. They found that information out in the tavern. They said they have to find the book as quickly as possible. But what do? They go in a cave, and they go to the cave, and you, as the game progressed, they're doing fine up until the last hour or two, the last 2 hours, where they decide to twiddle their thumbs. So what do you do as a DM when they twiddle their thumbs? You can throw in an encounter, get that party going. Or maybe they don't understand the consequences of this, or the severity of not finding that book in time. before the end of the world or end of the realm begins. Those are the things that you as DM has to improvise. And improvisation is my strong point. I love to improvise. And sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes it could work for you or against you. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can throw so many clues and so many things at the party, and the party will turn around and do their own thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But time management is very important. And in order to finish the story arc, they have to go and proceed forward. Because if not, there's going to be a lot of issues. And what do I mean by a lot of issues? Excuse me, I want to check my levels. Everything's streaming good. What do I mean by a lot of issues? Well, everything in the game counted on them finding the Book of the Dead. They know that the book's going to open up at any time. A beam of light's going to come out, and all the liches, all the undead's going to rise throughout the realm. They know that. They have 15 minutes. And they're lollygagging. Sometimes you could be the best DM in the world, and time management will be your thorn at your side. It happens. The thorn is at your side because the players are twiddling their thumbs and they're talking, role-playing. And I'm for role-playing and talking, and that's fine. But if you're running a one-shot and your players are ho-hum, then that's where it gets kind of complicated. Because now things have changed drastically. So how are you going to fix that? Improvisation. Improvise. So now the book, they're searching, perception, they're investigating a room that they know they got to go through that red door, but they start looking further. You tell them as a DM, there's nothing in this room. But they're cautious. Again, wasting time. In your head, you're going, oh man, they're wasting time. So what do? Here's how you improvise. So if they're lollygagging, they just say, okay, the ground shakes. You hear a tremor in the ground. Where you came in, rocks came down, or coming down, a landslide almost, because you're in a cave, remember? You know, a stalactite just slammed to the ground. Move the environment. Now they have, we gotta move. That's how you do it. You gotta move. Get them in that thought process to move. Do a couple deck saves. Get them going. Oh, wait, there's a door right there. Let's go through that door. But the other side, another exit leads to other areas in the cave. Rocks are coming down. Maybe a dozen rats or bugs or undead are coming out. Get them going. They don't have to do combat. They could flee. Fight or flight. Just remember, if time management isn't done well, and sometimes it doesn't work in the DM's it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So you just bite the bullet and move on. If you don't get finished with the one shot, then finish where you're at. It happened to me. Time management just goes all over the place. And sometimes it doesn't go your way. And if it doesn't go your way, just bite the bullet and that's it. After 4 hours, end it and say you've done your best. And go from there. So they go through the red door, and they see an altar with the book. That was it. But yet, they were talking, searching the other room, and you, because you don't want to railroad the players or the campaign or the one shot, whatever you're doing, you don't want to, control anything. You just want to keep it open-ended. Time just went whoop, and you lost control. Now, it's not controlling the game. You lost control of the story. Sometimes that happens. It's not the players taking over. It's just that they're just playing their characters. You could say, oh, they're playing their characters a little bit too much. No, they're just playing their characters. So what are you going to do? So now, like I said before, the scenario, rocks are falling, undead are coming out, a lot of movement. They go through the red door. Boom. Step 1, step 2, time management, beautiful, continues. So they move from one section to another. And in that section, now you see the book. But time is still running out. By the time they get to the book opens up, a light comes out, they're too late. So now all zombies come out, and you have a huge epic combat scene with a lich that comes out. An epic ending to a one-shot. All you had to do is bring them to that point. And let's say that the party was not lollygagging. Let's say they were doing everything fine. So the new ending, the alternate ending, would be they grab the book to leave the cave. And they have to backtrack. But as they leave the cave, there was another party, a party of bandits that were also looking for the book. And they were following them. So they get into this huge epic battle. So they defeat the bandits, per se. They just to get in the huge battle, they defeat the bandits. One of the players drops the book on the ground. It opens up slightly, and when it does that, light comes out, and here comes all the zombies and the lich. Again, another ending, ultimate ending, all epic. You have a huge main battle, and it ends. There goes your one shot. Same scenario. Different scenario. Same outcome. The other party went with the story. They were being chased or followed by bandits. They had a fight with the bandits. They defeated the bandits. They kept the book. They moved on. One of the guys dropped the book, opened the book, caused a reaction. There you go. And that is an example of how time management works. The other example was the players, the party, did not make it in time. So as they go through the door, they ran out of time. And the book opened up, light comes out, the lich, the zombies come out. Hey, different scenario, but the outcome's the same. You can do it that way. Nothing wrong with that. It's still epic. The other one was a little tense because they were playing too close to the jacket. But still, it happened. But what happens when... And let me go back and talk about one of my streams called The Mansion. And The Mansion, the time management was horrible. It was not. The role playing was good. Everything else was on target, but time management was awful. Everybody was all over the place. Maybe it wasn't enough clues. It wasn't enough clues. I didn't sprinkle here and there like I normally do. I was a little off. But it happens. And what happened was one of the guys found the exit to the mansion and escaped. They decided there was a big creature. They decided to not even fight and leave. They made their deck saves and everybody left the mansion happily. Now, could they have turned out a different way? Sure. Instead of leaving, they had this epic battle inside the mansion, ending the one shot. But instead, I let it where everybody left. Nothing wrong with that. But time management was horrible. Instead of going through the mansion, finding things out, they all just huddled in one area. They never left the first floor. There was 3 floors, and they were still on the first floor. A 4-hour game, a one shot, and they're still on the first floor. It happens, hey. But that time management, that's an example of how a time management can really destroy your game. Now, was the game bad? Did everybody still have fun? Yeah, everybody still had fun. The game wasn't bad. It's just the time management was completely off. And everybody was in one level. So I had to improvise to do things. So the players could have fun. Not people, just the players could have fun and still have of some form of a story. Because now I had to bring everything that was in the second and third level onto the first floor. You have to improvise. See, my villains in my game, they don't just wait for you. They just go. So if you miss the opportunity, bye-bye. They're gone. So if your adventure was about to save the damsel in distress and you are halfway there, you're on the bridge and you're being careful, you make it beyond the bridge, the other party members make it too, and you find bandits or whatnot, you get into a couple battles here and there, you're moving, you're going, where the damsel, the damsel in distress is in the top of the castle. She's at the top of the castle, inside the castle walls. She's not far. There's nothing wrong with role-playing. There's nothing wrong with searching. There's nothing wrong with investigating and doing things and taking clues and finding weapons and finding cool items. That's part of Dungeons & Dragons. That's part of any role-playing game. Cyberpunk, Vampire the Masquerade, Mage, Werewolf, Mummy, Heroescape, whatever, Warhammer. It all depends. All the role-playing games, all the games, tabletop games, you have a mission, a desired part of the story, and you know what to do. Let me get some water. All right, here we go. So you know what to do. And at one point, you're going to be, well, I'm going to just stay here and chit-chat with some NPCs. And there's nothing wrong with chit-chatting. But is the chit-chat going to bring you the information you need? So as a DM, you have to sprinkle, as I said before, the clues to get to the next section of the game. You know that let's say you're doing a one-shot, and the one-shot, again, average game is 4 hours. Average game is 4 hours. That is it, 4 hours. So you know you have 4 hours. You're doing a one shot, and let's say the story is to find the book. Just like I said earlier, you go to look for the Book of the Dead. You know you have the clues. You know you have the items already. You have your provisions. You're ready to go. You go to the cave. You know what to do and move. Along the way, if you want to role play and search, you can do that, as long as you are within those parameters. If not, it's going to fall apart. Now, it falls apart for the DM because the players are just having fun, and the DM has to have fun too. When you're telling a story, and you're getting into character, and if you're having conversation with a player and you're getting into your character, that's part of the fun. But the most important aspect of Dungeons and Dragons in any role-playing game, guys, is that you have fun. Ultimately, that's what it is. And if you don't have fun, guys, there's no reason to even play. Because you're worried about time management. You're worried about all these things. And you know what? I just mentioned how important time management is. Time management is very important. But now I want to talk about this is my opinion, a very important part. All these books that we get from the people that make Dungeons and Dragons, all these ideas, all these rules and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with rules. But rules are meant to be broken, folks. Really, it is. Because in time management, within those 4 hours, let's go back to the mansion in my game, where time management was all over the place and it wasn't done well. And of course, per rules, per the game, the time management wasn't run well and the game fell apart. Yeah, you can say it did. But did everybody have fun? There was good role playing. It was a mansion scenario and it was a horror thing. So it was fun. Now, if you're not having fun as a DM, and if you're not having fun as a player, and if you're going to be, well, I'm stressed out because they're still in the first level, and you're doing everything you can, and they're just not picking up. Even with the rolls, they're not picking up. There's nothing you can do. So improvise. Bring things to them. They never got to the second or third level of the mansion because there was a fire that started from the top floor and it came down. Or they saw something that caught their eye in the lower level, which they did, and they met their objective anyway. There's nothing wrong with that. So they found lower levels and lower different chambers and so on. Those are the things that you have to use in your game. Sometimes the clues are too strong, are too weak. Sometimes the players are just not picking it up. Maybe you're not putting it in right. But as long as they're having fun, and if the one shot ends with half a story, then it ends. And at the end of the day, if everybody's having fun, you've done your job. And that's the important thing. Because the rules, they can say what they want. Well, but there's going to be scenarios that players are just going to come off from all over the place. And they're going to be like, well, I want to do this. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all part of the game. The main problem with different scenarios in your game, if you have multiple scenarios and if they're not following the guidelines, these rules, these different aspects of, oh yeah, page 25 of the player's manual says for you to make sure that you do this and that and blah blah blah. Well, they're just guidelines, folks. Yeah, they're helpful. They make the game, they intensify the game. Yes, I'm not denying that, but they're guidelines. Everybody's going to be different in your campaign and your story. Everybody is going to be different. If you have a gang of friends you've been playing for 10, 20 years, and then after that, you go to a new group, that group is going to be completely different than the other one. And they're going to do cockamamie stuff, and the other group is going to do off-the-wall stuff. Players do that. There's nothing wrong with doing things, out of the box, thinking out of the box. The main title for today was time management, because I think time management is the essence, the core of the mechanics. Yeah, you could have your saves and all these spells and your actions and all that. Well, what good is all that if the players are not where they should be? Remember, if you're doing a one-shot, you should 4-hour one-shot, right? And if your players are not even in the second act of your story and they're still in the first act, there's a problem. So all the other mechanics are not going to matter. All that combat is not going to matter because they just blew time management. Or you did, because you weren't putting the proper clues where they should go. Being a DM can be cumbersome, can be a problem sometimes, because players will do cockamamie stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is who they are. They can go left, and you have a story on the right side, and they're going to go left all the time. Or if you have a story in a forest, and they're going to go to the tavern, or they're going to want to stay in town. And your second act was about an explosion in the middle of the forest. Somebody caused a forest fire, or whatever arc you have, there was a fire, and all of a sudden all this bugbear and different creatures came out, and there was a huge battle. You had epic shit happening in the forest, and what do? And I've said this before earlier in DM Talk, where they decided, well, we're going to stay in one area. That's why I love improvising. You can write all you want and make it epic. But the players are going to go, no, we're going to go here. So remember time management. You have your first, second, and third act. When you write, that doesn't change. So if you are going to write a story and they're still in the first act and they're just lollygagging, they're not doing that on purpose. They're doing it because they love role-playing. They're doing that because they love the game. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to have to throw, hey, there's a fish. There's a worm, and the fish are in the water. They got to jump to that worm. You got to throw some clues out there. Here's one. Okay, so if they're taking their time in town and they go shop, and they want to get swords and stuff, the mage starts talking to one of his workers. And the worker is saying, hey, I heard something's going on in the forest. I heard a couple bandits out there. There's some treasure, something. You start They start talking low. Make a perception roll. They roll. One guy has a 17. The other party member has a 15. They roll. Oh, yeah, there's something going on in the forest. The other party members are in a tavern. Remember, the other went to shop and to get provisions and stuff, and the other ones just wanted to have some ale or drink or chill. So they're in a tavern, and the same thing happens. Throw some clues there. One guy has a map over a table, and he's looking at a couple of his orc friends are looking down at this table, and he goes, oh, there it is. There it is, what we're looking for in the forest. There's some gold there. There's some treasure. So now, beam, 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 beam. It's like Metal Gear. Remember the old Metal Gear game with the exclamation point? Boom, boom. That's exactly what's going on. Now you have you got the attention of the players. Wow. Let's go check out the forest. You bring them in again. The fish jump, grab the worm, boom, bring them in again. And just because you did that, continue that trend, because they may fall back again. It just happens. People get into that mode. They get comfortable with their characters. They get into the role playing. They're on the horse. They're trotting. There's no urgency. They know they got to find the Book of the Dead before chaos ensues. And what do? Trotting along. Hanging out. Careful. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the beauty of role-playing. If they're trotting along and they're looking, they hear a howl in the forest. They hear noises. What are you doing? They get louder and louder. Oh, let's move a little faster now. Just sprinkle some stuff in there. Bring things to the game that will alleviate boredom, B, that will catch everybody's attention, and C, probably the most important one, is time management. Like I said before, time management. Once you have those things, you have the clues, they're going to move. Now, what I mean by that is they're not going to move to the point where they're going to fly. Let's go. They can do that now. But if they do that, they get to the end earlier, that's where you improvise. That's where you throw stuff in. Maybe the villain hasn't arrived yet, but they're there. In the church, they see the altar. Nobody's there. They see a dozen pews. They look around. Candles are lit, like they were preparing for a ceremony. They all do investigation checks. They're not here yet, but they're on top of it. They're getting prepared for some form of ritual, some form of magic seance. And as they're searching, the villain walks in with 10 of his underlings and minions. Now your one shot has an epic battle. An epic ending with some loss, or the heroes win. You've done well as a DM. Congratulations. That's how it's done. That's how I would do it. And let's reflect back at that game that I streamed, The Mansion. Did time management go all over the place? Yes, of course it did. It was all over the place. There was a 3-level mansion. They stayed on the first level. And the players were just doing their own thing. Nothing wrong with that. Again, don't knock yourself for that. It happens. Players are going to do what they do. You could sprinkle as many clues as they want, but sometimes they just won't catch the worm. And they're fish. They're going to continue swimming in that water, and they're not going to jump and catch the worm. Even if you have the water, if you have the worm in the water, they can go right by it. Maybe they're in deep in the water. Maybe they just don't see it. So, what I did was I brought everything to them. They found certain hidden rooms and they moved on. That's how I did it. Was it successful? Yes. They had a choice to go and fight the big bad or to escape, which they found. There was a trap. They made their deck save and they made it. Done. Was there urgency? No. Was there bad time management? Absolutely. It sucked, time management. It was so bad. But sometimes, you're just going to have to, you just have to fold your arms and say, oh, well, shit, it does happen. Time management is ultimately a main killer in your games. Now, it doesn't mean that your games suck. No. What I mean by that, and please do not misunderstand me, what I mean by that is that time management is just going to be like carrying a bag of boulders. Oh, they're hard to get to the next step. So now your one shot is going to be a two shot. And hopefully the next episode, you can get the story done within 4 hours. Lately for me as a DM, I run, if I do a short story, I don't do one shots, I do two story arcs, 2 parts, or 3 parts, or sometimes even 6. That's what I do. One shots for me is a no-go. I had my experience with the mansion, and like I said, it was still successful. Everybody had fun, but I had my experience with it, and I said to myself, no, I'm not going to cram everything in 4 hours. One shots are not my thing. I love long stories. I love cliffhangers. I love to move from one section to another at a slow pace and go from there. Now, are there scenarios in my stories where it's fast? Yes, there is. But I'd be comfortable with a 2-parter, and even then, a 2-parter, if it ends prematurely, then it ends prematurely. That's what I do. Now, you might say, oh, Henry, well, you don't run good one-shots. And I don't. I call it a 2-shot. Excuse me. I call it a 2-shot. And that's what I do. Nothing wrong with that. It's still a story, right? And you're still having fun, and people are having fun at your table. Those are the main things. Man, I love streaming. I love gaming, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or whatever game it is. Hopefully in the future, we'll have other DMs where they can run and I could play. I want you guys to see how I play, not just my DMing style, but as a player. I love playing, and I'm just itching to play because I want to play Dungeons and Dragons as much as they do, and it's great. And just to get someone, the DM, for me and my players, and I'm with them, would be awesome. Because I role play my ass off, and let me tell you, that's all I'm going to talk about time management. 44 minutes of time management is fine, but let's talk about what I got for Christmas. I got a 2024 player's manual for D&D. Now, I'm not going to make a comparison, bad or good or anything like that. I'm not. No, I'm excited. I got it. I can't wait to look at it. I can't wait to read it and look at it. I know a couple friends of mine at work and other folks don't like it. There's a lot of things that they don't like about it, but I want to read it and I want to give it a shot. And hopefully, next campaign that I run, we'll use the 2024 rules. But it's going to be a party. Everybody's got to make a decision on that. That's just me. And in my session 0, I want everybody to choose to continue with 2014 or 2024. Now, why the change? Because, hey, why not? You know, I got to stay with the gig, right? I got to stay with the trend. Why not? Everybody's doing it. Everybody's running the 2024. Yeah, but we're currently running campaign 2, and campaign 2 is 2014, and I don't want to change from 2014 to 2024 because, for one, I don't want to confuse people, and I don't want to confuse myself either. But yeah, there's a lot in there, and I'm very excited to run it. So very excited. Now, in your games, what do you like? Do you guys run, you know, an older version of Dungeons and Dragons, or are you running 5e, 2014, 2024? What do you think? Let me know here in the comments what you think. What do you guys do? And if not, later on, write it in, and I'll comment back to you later. Gaming in general, to me, is important. You know, I saw this. I got to talk about this. I saw this. Let me get some water. I saw this in the chat room, and they were talking about, DM was talking about rolling or stat allocation, you know, point allocation, and what will you do? And I put down point allocation, and a couple guys were like, oh, you know, I'm old school, I do rolls and blah blah. Let me tell you why I like stat point allocation, because it's fun to put your points where they should go. If you're using a fighter or wizard, you know the abilities that they need, and that's fine. I like doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. As a DM on my side, when I create an NPC, I do point allocation. That's all I do. Now, rolling, when I play, I prefer to roll 4d6, take out your lowest roll, boom. So what does that tell you? It tells you that you are badass, right? Yes, you are, because now your strength, right? And if you get the lowest possible number, boom, you put it in. Then you have your dexterity, your charisma, constitution, all that wisdom, all that stuff, all the abilities. And if they are low than normal, then they are. It makes it fun. I said this before. I've rolled a fighter that I rolled so bad. And the DM, Anthony Annis, he decided, okay, roll for strength. You know, the fighter's ability is strength, dexterity. So I'm like, yeah, I'm rolling. And it was bad. It was bad. I was so weak. I was so slow. But I had constitution. I had wisdom and intelligence. And charisma. Those were my 4 abilities that I got really good rolls. And you know what? I was happy for it. My sling was my weapon. I couldn't even carry a longsword because it was so heavy. I could carry a dagger, And that's what I did. A dagger and a sling. And I rolled deception like it was nothing. I was the bomb at deception. Now, when I failed at deception and I couldn't use my keen leadership, I had my party back me up with combat. If there was a situation where it got out of hand, my friends would help me out. But that fighter was cool. Now, do I urge people to roll each ability? Yeah, it's fun. But I'm telling you, you have to be one hell of a role player. You have to role play your ass off. Because of what I was doing is my sarcasm, my fighter was sarcastic, but he had positive thinking. Don't worry, I can do this. Don't worry, I can save you. Not a problem. Even if I had a sling, it was cool. That's the time that role-playing is the best. And the old school Dungeons and Dragons books did that. It brought you to, hey, this is the danger aspect. Now, Dungeons and Dragons is a little bit more superhero-ish. What do I say by that? What do I mean? What do I mean by that? Well, look at the power base of these character classes. 2024 and 2014. Both. Look at the power base. Look at the fighter. Look at the wizard. Too many hit points. Way too many hit points. At level 8, level 9, you are a beast. If you have a 5e character and a player is using that character in an OSR, old school game, that character is a superhero in comparison. He'd be a god. Seriously. Because those OSRs, those older games, deal with very little. The goblins, the orcs, the dragons, they have lower hit points and they meet the standards just for that game, that particular edition. You couldn't use 2024 and bring all the power to the OSR or the older games and see how it works. It just wouldn't work because they're so powerful. That's why I call 5e superhero fantasy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. I love it to death. I play it. I mean, I'm a nerd, guys. I just love it. But do we really need all these feats? Do we? Do we really need all these items and weapons? Whatever happened to the imagination? Whatever happened to the DM describing an item out of the fly, not prior to everybody getting to your house, sitting down, taking their coats off, sitting down on the table, in the chair, whipping out their characters, or in this case, we're in 2024, their phone with their character in it, and then around the table discussing the game and saying, hey, I got everything. What do you say then? Do they have everything or not? They're very powerful. 5e in general are very powerful characters. You don't need all that stuff. You really don't. All you need is imagination. And most DMs that I play with, they are old school. And they are looking at OSRs. They will not touch 2014, 2024. I'm the only one out of all of them that I know. I'm the only one. In fact, I know guys who play older versions of Dungeons and Dragons. They don't play the new ones because they don't want the problems that can occur. And that's why most campaigns end at level 8 or 9. Because after that, they start to, yeah, I'm badass. There are so many feats that it's like, Rolodex. You know, you roll everything, all that information, index card just flying all over the place. So many feats. Those are the things that, as a DM, you got to look at and say, hey, man, what's next? Oh, but in the mainstream Dungeons and Dragons, people love that. Yeah, I mean, I do. I'm not knocking, again, guys, I'm not knocking it. I love it too. I'm playing it right now currently. I love it. Would I change a thing? No. Keep it. But know this, there are other versions of it. Oh my God, what percentage? Oh man. I'd say probably I'd say probably 50%. Let me defend my opinion, because sometimes it's not having lights, not having phones that will bring you back. It sounds reasonable. Yeah, will bring you back to that old school D&D. Man, this is when I DM, I do this. When I make NPCs, I use D&D Beyond. I also use it on paper. I do it. I have copies on paper. I don't print them out. I can make them too. I homebrew a lot of my creatures because my players, they love, well, this must be an adult dragon, huh? You know, stuff like that. So I homebrew it. That's why I like Colville's MCDM. His books that is compatible with 5e, because it's so good. So many creatures in there that are awesome. You know, you have your legendary actions for D&D 5e. Then you have Colville's villain action. So there's, you know, a little difference, but it's cooler. You know, there's a lot of stuff that really intensifies combat and make your story, add to your story. And I think players nowadays, just like you said, and thank you for your comment, players today just sit around the table and they're outside camping and they have lanterns and there's a, you know, with no phones. That is so cool. With nothing. I mean, that is so cool. I would love to do that. You and I would probably, you know, click with that. There's some people that just rather have their phones. Rather have digital. You know what? I'm not knocking digital. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is, Yeah, you're right. You're dependent on a lot of things, and there's nothing wrong with looking things up and looking for a spell. And like you said, yeah, and there's nothing wrong to look up a stat and a spell. I do it. I mean, you know, your players could come out of nowhere and say, "Yeah, I've got this great idea, this amazing idea in the game, but can it work with the game mechanics?" And you gotta hang on a second. Let me look in the book. Let me look in the book. Let me see what it has, or and beyond. I got the digital copy. Let me look in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff like that. And that's part of Dungeons and Dragons. That's what makes it fun. And that lantern idea, man, that is so cool. That would be awesome. I would love to play a game like, it has to be a beautiful day. No rain, nothing like that. In an actual forest, and having people around, having like a table, you know, tents, whatever, have lanterns, and just role play. No digital devices, just role play. Pen and paper, all good. But the amazing thing, can people make characters without the digital advantage? Look in the book. You can. It could be done. It could be done. But that's fun. I'm nuts. I love just making characters on paper and then, you know, on digital. I love doing that. I love writing in general, and just doing both is very, very, it makes it fun for me. That's my fun. Like I said, I'm a nerd, and doing stuff like that is fun. Anyways, I'm out of time. And thank you very much for your comment. I do have my Discord. I don't know if I put it on here, but before I go, I'm going to go ahead and jot down my Discord so everybody can hang out. All right, I want to put my Discord right here. There you go. Get the word out. Theater of the mind, man. Hey, man, don't apologize. I'm glad you're watching. You know, get the word out, please. Next Saturday, 8 p.m. Central, the campaign 2 for our show continues. So check us out. I appreciate the time, and of course you watching. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. There's the Discord. Check us out, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.